Live from Lincoln and broadcasting across the state of Nebraska, it's the Average Joe Sports Show. This is the place for Husker sports with the biggest names, the best interviews, and all the inside scoops.
I got a front row seat with a big tub of buttered popcorn and a greasy half-live chicken leg.
Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Weekend edition is here with the Average Joe Sports Show. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, the Pride of Fairbury, and OG Average Joe, or Bill Doleman, is here. We are going to find Kraynak searching, and Brandon Vogel should stop by with counter read. Gary Sharp, the Iron Horse, a little bit later on around 8:30. I am
sleepy.
A little bit, but no. I mean, we're down here in Charlotte, and Charlotte, like I'd been to Charlotte before, but where we're at is called the South Park area. I've not seen Cartman saying respect my authority running around, but it's just a really cool kind of it feels like Crown Center Regency type setup with outdoor malls, and all that stuff. And no, we got to bed like early last night, like 10 o'clock Central Time. But the hotel room we're in has been stuck at 80 since we got here.
Oh.
So we've got the door open to kind of like the balcony area. We all crashed, but it's one of those, you just are tapping out because you're exhausted. And
you now know how Gary Sharp feels. He said, every trip.
but he does it. He does it by choice.
Yeah. Do you so you're not a fan of Gary Sharp's room temperature on the trips?
Well, when I'm in North Dakota, if I'm like him and it's 750 below, yeah. But it was 83 degrees and a little humid yesterday, and it's going to be mid 80s today. We'll be playing another course, and we get to go to the Masters, man, on Monday. Just for those of us in the stream that don't know, that's what's up. That's why I'm on the road on air quote assignment, Elijah and Bill, and shot a pretty good round yesterday. Elijah, thank you for putting the pressure on me when it came to putting for dough, and I just blew up.
Hey, yeah, you had a par putt, all right. So and you nailed it from 75 to the green, so that was good. You didn't shank it into the tree or hurt some wildlife, break a window. You didn't go dome on some dude on the other tee box, so that was nice. But yeah, the three putt was. That's a Chris Schmidt round. Here's what you should have done though yesterday, is you should have said that you were playing Augusta, and all the pictures that you posted yesterday should have said Augusta, just to see what the reaction of golf people would have been when they saw the pictures that have some spots of brown on the grass.
Yeah.
Right.
Just freak them out. I mean, yeah, some of the fairways are still getting with it,
right?
Yeah,
but if people thought that was Augusta, because I think most people would believe that you could play there. So I just think that they would have gone, oh my God! But you know what that would have happened if you'd said that? You would have been banned. They would have scanned your ticket, said you're the one who posted the pictures of the browned golf course, and you would not be allowed in, nor would you be allowed back. And who was the bikini wax golf course reporter that got banned from Augusta because he said that the greens are as fast as bikini wax? It was on CBS forever.
That's good.
Somebody in the stream will know.
Good work on that. That'd be funny.
You would have been banned. Yeah. You would have been banned if you said that Augusta had some brown patches.
It was one Gary McCord.
Gary McCord, thank you. Yes, I knew it was Gary something.
The ghost of Hootie Johnson would have taken a tire iron to my head. But we head down to Columbia, South Carolina tomorrow to play, and then we'll stay in Augusta No Butler cabin, but it's okay. Now excited. And Elijah, appreciate you, dude, and Justice for rocking it. Bill, thanks for coming on yesterday. And hey, we've already burnt 5 minutes on me, and I don't like that. That's okay. It was fun. I've got to loosen up. I'm creaking around like I actually did something yesterday other than play 18 rounds.
Age happens, bud.
Oh, Father Time can F right off, man. No good. I had catfish last night for the first time in my life.
Really?
Deep fried, I hope. Was it done well?
Yes. Oh, it was unreal. Iowa Russ got shrimp and grits, and whatever sauce they use for that stuff is immaculate. But this is going to be a hot take and not a nice take, but I just see why there's possibly so many linemen down here in the South, based on how widely available the food is.
Well, the key when you're down there is you got to balance your plate. You got to get some veggies in there. May I recommend deep fried okra?
I had green beans.
If you want true Southern experience, get your greens in there. You go deep fried okra.
Well,
I was several years ago. I did Arkansas basketball for a season with my buddy Jimmy Dykes on ESPN, and we were in Fayetteville doing a home game, and he said, "Hey, we got to go to the Catfish House before we go." I'm like, "All right, yeah, local place." Well, everything there is fried, so it was fried catfish, fried, of course, hush puppies,
which are great.
Fried potatoes, and then for dessert, and then there was whatever fried vegetable there was fried, and then for dessert you have fried chocolate pie. And we left that place, and I'm like hanging out the side of the car window, just trying to get as much air as I possibly could. And we're not on the air yet. I mean, it was food that probably is still with me to this day. It was heavy. Let's just say it wasn't exactly a light bite.
Well, I felt I was doing okay options with going on the fish route versus the chicken fried steak, so it was fine. Well, let's get to some football. I know Matt Rule is supposed to speak later today as Nebraska is rounding another turn with spring football, but hey, it's a situation where I'm super excited to be on the road for a golf trip, and appreciate everybody making it happen. Jeff Snitley is here, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty. Uncle Larry is in. Walter talking about that. I know that Mike Shula is South Carolina's new OC. I did not. If his last name is Shula, he'll have a job in football. Kobe is here. Black Hills Brennan saying what's up. Craven, thank you, Craven. Playing that game, are we, this morning? Wonderful. Arlo's here. Corn Raider said I wake up too early. Turned on yesterday's pod. Knocked it out. Thank you, Corn Raider. David here. Puffins saying what's up. Tuck is in. Brian Snitley, part of the Boulder Peace Treaty, is in. And Ryan also saying what's up. Casper is here. Eat beef. Vic in Denver. Ryan W saying what's up. Coach Brandon, Buck 380, and Michael just down the road from you, bud, as Michael is in North Carolina.
And Arlo says listening to Chris makes my hangover not seem so bad.
See, I'm plugged up. I behaved myself last night. I hope I'm not droning and putting folks to sleep. Carry on, fellas.
Zyrtec.
I think they can just hear you creaking.
Yeah, no kidding. What is interesting about this next week of Nebraska football? We'll hear from Rule, but then what, right? Now, what's on the to-do list here, Bill and Elijah?
Well, they've done a pretty good job of bringing, the assistants and having a bit of a revolving door. I would imagine we'll probably hear from some of the newer head coach, or new assistant coaches. Glenn Thomas spoke a couple of days ago, and Don Variola. we've only heard the introductory pressers from Williams and Shorts and Braden. So I think you're just going to continue to hear from each of them. They'll space those out throughout the rest of the spring, and whet people's appetite. We'll probably have a weekly appearance from Matt Rule. Probably hear from Dylan Raiola again. I doubt you're going to hear from TJ Lateef because he's a freshman just on campus. But, Nebraska's done a good job of sprinkling in the coaches, as needed. I doubt we hear from Butler or Holgerson again. Maybe we will because of the coordinators. But we'll just get to know the assistants that, it's kind of formulaic for Nebraska.
Well, I'm hoping to hear from Coach Eckler because we spent some time with Brandon Vogel yesterday talking about the importance of kind of the special teams equation, especially field position with punting and then red zone efficiency, being able to knock home your field goals, kick off. I mean, it's all there. It's all important. And the last 5 years has underscored the importance of special teams for Nebraska football. I'll be curious to hear what his first few weeks on the job have been like as in an on-field capacity, what he's been installing, the guys that have been standing out to him on special teams, how the whole operation's looking. I'm not sure if we're going to hear from Coach Eckler next week, but I'd be curious if we do. I think that'll be, kind of like the next big thing in spring I'm looking forward to hearing. Is you heard from the OC, you heard from the DC, let's hear from the special teams coordinator, the other new guy showing up that has, an important job. You guys work cut out for him here this spring.
No, and that it's going to be so vital to getting things flipped around on special teams. Speak of the devil with Brandon Vogel with us here from Counter Read. Weekend edition here of the Average Joe Sports Show and Vogue series, something you need to check out when we talk about that 9-win equation. Vogues, I see why you are always in a good mood. The South is just awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good place to be. Warmed up quick though, didn't it? At least that's how it is here on the eastern edge of Tennessee.
Are you piling on my 81-degree room?
No, but it's about that here too. So we are in it together.
All right, Bill and Elijah are laughing and mocking. Okay.
Oh, it's gonna be like 40 here in Lincoln today. So
really,
it's 32 now.
Man, that's no good.
Yeah.
For time's sake, I need Gertie the German Shepherd to pop up and make sure she sees Vogues. But Brandon, let's spend a little bit of time. We'll probably dive into a little bit of what you wrote here, but what do you think of Glenn Thomas? Not only the situation he's kind of in, being brought in to tutor quarterbacks, but then here comes Dana. A lot's made about Coach Snow and the overseer. Well, you got Glenn Thomas that, man, he just sounds like a calming older uncle, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He comes across, kind of really professional, which, that's where the bulk of his coaching experience has been. But, we heard from him this week, and was the last time we heard from him preseason of 2024. He's just kind of quietly does his thing behind the scenes. And it was the first year we had watching him with Nebraska's quarterbacks. And so this year, I think we'll be able to see a little bit more of the growth that is or isn't happening with that group. So I think, confluence of those factors kind of made it. He was pretty behind the scenes for an assistant, which is totally fine. The proof will be on the field. But in terms of him working together with Dana, I think describing him as highly professional probably only helps in that regard.
Doesn't that seem like he's the Phil Snow to Dana Holgerson? Like Phil Snow is to John Butler. Like there's some, I don't know. I think Phil Snow is probably older than Glenn Thomas, but it just seems like, yeah, we haven't heard from him for about almost a year, it seems like. And then he just kind of pops up, talks about the quarterbacks for a little while, and then we won't hear from him again. And he's just this coach whisperer or whatever to the coordinator of that side of the football.
Yeah, I think so. And it'll be it'll be kind of a high stakes season, I think, when you have a player with the profile of Dylan Raiola, who has the kind of raw ability, skills, and size that he has. I think freshman year was a little up and down, but I think overall, with some remove from it, I would classify it as good. Of course, good's not what you're looking for with a 5-star quarterback. So there's gonna be some pressure and some urgency, I think, to see growth from Dylan this year, and ultimately that kind of comes down to Thomas. So we'll see what happens.
In terms of divvying up the workload, how important do you think it is for Glenn Thomas to continue working on Dylan Raiola's game versus establishing that backup quarterback battle, which is a battle that's going to fly under the radar through spring and through fall camp, understandably so. The backup quarterback isn't the most popular guy in town until the starter starts struggling, if the starter starts struggling. But you look at TJ Lateef and you look at Marcos Davila, and it's kind of an interesting backup quarterback battle because to me it feels like, and I think we've talked about this before, it feels like the battle between the person who's going to be able to stick and stay at Nebraska and the person who's going to be probably forced to enter the transfer portal at this time next year.
Yeah, I think you got to spend a good amount of time on that, and I think one of the advantages with Raiola and everything we've heard about kind of his work ethic and his ability to process information is you can be a little, maybe I don't want to say hands off, but he's a little more self sufficient than probably your average college quarterback who's just a sophomore. But last year was a little bit unique. Dylan had to go out for a little bit there against UCLA. But when was the last time prior to that a Nebraska quarterback was able to go every game? And hopefully that remains the case. But I think you always have to assume you're going to need 2 quarterbacks at least, maybe 3. Has probably been closer to the average for Nebraska over the recent past in the Big Ten.
Brendan Vogel with us, counterread, counterread.com, weekend edition of the Average Joe Sports Show. Like and subscribe on YouTube is where you can catch us 7 days a week. And also Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. Let's go to the offensive line, Vogue.
Real quick about just a thought about the quarterbacks, and there's somebody asking about attrition. They're going to carry all 4 of those guys, right? I mean, They wanted Gramstad to come back. Lateef's a true freshman, and Davilos is not going to go anywhere. I mean, so there's 4 spots, and I think Gramstad, is probably, understands what his role is as the, on field or the in the locker room quarterback whisperer. And Davilos said, and Lateef's probably, going to be whatever the redshirt rule is, 4 games, and so. Those are 4 roster spots that are taken already, and they're not going to have any attrition at the quarterback position.
Yeah, I would think you could make it through the off season, and hopefully not lose one of those. It's always be careful what you say here, I guess, because it looks pretty good on paper with I think the flexibility that Gramstad offers. He had the opportunity to come back for another year. We know his aspirations are like, this is a huge learning opportunity for me. I mean, he still wants to play. He still wants to get out there and throw touchdown passes the way anybody else would. And I think, he could do that. But you look at, if he weren't here, then you're looking at Davila needing to be that second guy. And then beyond that, you've got a true freshman. So this is I think it looks like they've kind of threaded the needle here for the time being, and hopefully that can last for at least a year.
Vogues, I want to stay at the quarterback spot for a sec. How truly comfortable do you think Nebraska is if they've got a break in case of an emergency and go get Granddad in the ballgame?
Well, I mean, if you take Matt Rule at his word, they seem pretty comfortable. We just got a glimpse of him, and a lot of this would depend on when and where in the season you needed to do it. But Sure, he came from the NAIA ranks, and that's a huge, huge jump. That I can't recall, looking at a player or recall a player where I was like, oh yeah, that guy jumped up from NAIA. You don't see it. That said, he's a veteran player, and he was a really good player at the level he was at. So I think in at quarterback specifically, being that veteran is a pretty big advantage. So I think that would be where Nebraska went first. If they had to do it today.
I just think he's kind of that sneaky little gamer that could go make some things happen. You just don't know if you're able to make a living long in the Big Ten with him as the guy versus coming in and just saving the day.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key question. If you were in a situation where you're like, oh, maybe we need somebody for 6 quarters. Maybe that's where you go. If you're looking at 3-4 games potentially, maybe you look at Davila, who was at a Big Ten school, and kind of had the more traditional kind of power conference quarterback recruiting profile.
Gramstead seems like the kind of guy that when you got the ball at the 5-yard line, you got to go 95 yards against Maryland. He's going to have that storybook moment minus the interception at the 3-yard line. But it's going to be that there he was. It was all set up just like it was for Purdy. And this is a heroic story. And then it doesn't end well. And you don't have the legend of Matt Turman or Purdy or – that's where Gramstead probably is going to have maybe a moment in the sun or the clouds, and it's going to be he'll be the story of the day. But for long term, I would think that you're going to look to one of the other two.
Vogues, what you think of Walter's question? Can the Nebraska O-line get nominated for the Joe Moore Award? I will ask this every season until it actually happens. What the hell happened with the offensive line? I'm not saying that as a shot at Donnie here and now, but just, God, it used to be 2 or 3 guys that went in the draft, 2 or 3 guys that reloaded, and you were just great all the time.
Yeah, you were. And please do keep asking that question every year, Walter, because it's it's one that is easy to kind of overlook or paint around, but it's the key to, I don't want to say the whole thing, but when you look at Nebraska as a program and what it has and what it doesn't have, and where it can recruit and where it can't, it's just hard to see Nebraska getting back to the level it wants, even for a season, without having one of the 2 or 3 or 4 best O lines in the Big Ten. Like you're not going to get, I don't think, that kind of quirky flash in the pan season where it's like, oh yeah, maybe we just really hit on some receivers and the quarterback was lights out for 10 games and outscored teams 42-38. Like I don't see that. That's not the way they're built under Matt Rule, but it's also just, it doesn't really seem in the cards for Nebraska the way that having a consistently good O-line does. And then when you have one of those that could be nominated for the Joe Moore Award as one of the best in the country, that's when you should have your special seasons, and it will feel earned at that point.
And who's nominating for the Joe Moore Award? Is it the legend of the Hogs from the Washington Redskins? Is it Joe Moore? Who's determining these are the best 5 to 10 guys on an offense? I'm just going to go down the stat sheet, and this one is okay. These guys lead the nation in rushing. So we have the offensive line for Army and Air Force annually nominated for the award. And then who else has the guys averaging 1,000 or 150 yards per game? Okay, that's another one. I mean, who's really coming through with this? Or are they just reading the stat sheet on Saturday or Sunday morning?
Yeah, I don't know if it's if they leave that up to just yahoos like me in the Football Writers Association. I don't recall seeing the nomination process emails for that one, though there are a lot of them. So yeah, Bill, it's it could be people like me, and
I
I don't know
remember,
if that's what you want.
I remember the old joke back in the 70s and 80s because Nebraska had, the All-America center every year. Because nobody was paying attention when they were putting together like the AP teams or whatever. And they just call up Don Bryant, Nebraska's legendary sports information director and greatest guy in the world. And they go, Fox, who you got? Well, that Rick Bonas has been pretty good for us. And Jake Young's been pretty good. And, Raiola, of course, was great. And Remington. So, Nebraska's just got great centers every year. So we'll just have them become center U for a while. Of course, Remington was as the Big 8 Offensive Player of the Year, which, again, I've said it many times, is the most incredible award that has ever been given. A center as the Offensive Player of the Year in a conference. But it was like the joke was, just call Fox and see who they got at Nebraska, and we'll put them in there.
I've done some research here while we've been talking. The Joe Moore Award is voted on by a committee of voters that includes all 128 FBS offensive line coaches, along with media members who previously played offensive line, and a legacy committee, which is colleagues of Moore or players who were coached by Joe Moore.
And I'm sure they're getting there on Sunday mornings, and they're breaking down all 130 plus teams and breaking down film. It's like, who's leading the nation in rushing? Who has a 150-yard rusher? Those guys are pretty good. Whose quarterback is not getting sacked? And that's how it goes.
Yeah, so the only team that won it that didn't run the hell out of the ball, Washington won it. And the Michael Penix year, 2023, and then Oklahoma 2018 are the two teams that didn't just run the heck out of the ball, but everyone else is a pretty run dominant football team.
No sacks.
How many first rounders did Oklahoma have in 2018 on the offensive line? I mean, it was impressive. Bogues,
I didn't play O-line, so I'm out for that committee. But you did, Elijah. So I think this is a new stretch goal for you. You're going to get on the Joe Moore Award committee.
Offensive line at a low level.
I think we find a way to get Elijah invited to the Joe Moore banquet. Think about that. A whole bunch of offensive line coaches showing up for a buffet.
The catering costs for that one have got to be up there.
No kidding, right? Bogues, level of excitement, intrigue for the crown later today, the semifinals.
How's your bracket look?
I forgot to submit my bracket for that one. I did all the legwork, filled it all out, broke down the games, and then just forgot to hit send on it. I'll watch it. I mean, Nebraska's played pretty well. It's kind of, you're in the tournament, might as well go try and win it and see. I wouldn't say my excitement level is high, although I am coming to you from the home of the recently crowned NIT champions. So if Nebraska could get this one, we're looking at least for me, sweeping some of these NCAA non-tournament tournaments.
Bogues, Nebraska fans are wanting blood, right? With the ability to keep playing basketball this late into the year. Kraynak, what's up, dude? How we doing?
I love showing up like that to that statement.
Looking
Nebraska
for blood.
Fans are wanting blood in relation to the crown. I just love that. That's a good way to show up. I just appreciate it.
No, it's all good, man. We're
Mark, I like your little headline today. Mountain Time Zone.
Yeah.
Oh, did we switch to Central? Is that y'all didn't even email that?
It's daylight savings time extra.
Yeah, exactly. Spring, what is it? Fall forward, spring back. Is that something like that?
Yeah. This is the mulligan on that for you, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Bogues,
baseball season.
Spend a minute here, bud, about the 9-win chase, and we've got an interesting panel assembled this morning here. I know Elijah and I talked about it a little bit, but just you're putting together a formula for 9 wins because I think that. Man, that would mean a lot to Nebraska fans first, and then it'd really be a statement about how good the team is if and when they get back to that mark. I know it's something you've been working on here this offseason.
Yeah, it is. It's probably so that story's up on counterread.com right now. Published that or sent that out on Thursday, and I think maybe the shortest way to not make this terrible radio is I went back and looked at the past 4 years of the teams that kind of had a scoring differential that usually equates to 9 wins, and that was about 50 teams. And compared it against where Nebraska's coming from out of 2024, and like the big areas where they were missing yards per play, not far off from what 9-win teams have been doing recently. It's scoring, and I know we talked about that a bit on Thursday. Nebraska had as many red zone attempts as Clemson did, just didn't convert like the ACC champs and playoff teams did. So things like that, and we hear a lot about that during spring football. The other big area where they'd have to take a pretty big jump to get to 9 is in the field position exchange. Like Nebraska was negative last year, meaning their offense started further away than their defensive drives. And the 9-win teams over the past 4 years are usually have about a 5-yard edge there. So Nebraska has some work to do on that front.
Yeah, conversion wise, was there anything that jumped out the most? I mean, I'm assuming earlier in the year, just from recollection, it was field goals were a problem. Yeah. Those eventually seemed to level out. Was it something about their passing percentage go way down? Did their run plays go turnovers? What jumped out?
Well, I think it was so both their touchdowns and their field goal rates were low, of course. And the thing I wondered about is what's the relationship between not being able to make those field goals early on, so then maybe you push it a little bit more in the red zone. You go for it when otherwise you might just take the 3. So it's kind of a sliding scales type of problem there. But they were at about, I think, between 70 and 75% touchdown wise. Like the 9-win teams were usually up a little bit above 80. So it's just being able to convert those things. And, you could go back and watch all of the red zone cut-ups and probably come up with different issues, each time, a drop pass or a missed throw or any of those things. It's one of those where I think it's just getting a little bit better overall. It's sort of chicken or the egg conundrum where it's like, oh yeah, their red zone percentage went up. If that should happen, was it because they got better at red zone offense, or were they just better overall?
Brandon Vogel with us here, a weekend edition of the Average Joe Sports Show. And Brandon, I mentioned earlier in the show, I'm kind of like eagerly awaiting to hear from Coach Eckler during spring football, the first time since he's actually been on the field, hear what he's been working on. But it's an interesting spring in that we don't get to see special teams work at the end of it all with the spring game. You're kind of just going to be trying to pick up breadcrumbs from Coach Eckler. And I think with his personality, he'll probably drop some. So with that in mind, what do you want to hear from Coach Eckler when he does finally meet with the media?
Yeah, I would be interested in some. Well, I think first and foremost, the kicking game. How are things looking there? We're not gonna get a sense of that necessarily. And also punting. Nebraska brought in the punter from Washington, which was an experienced guy, which I think is important. From a numbers perspective, at least last year, his numbers were a little bit lower than Bashini's were. So I think that's a pretty significant question. So just getting a sense of what he thinks of the personnel that he inherited. And then in terms of the return game, that was an area where Tennessee was pretty aggressive. So who are those players that are kind of working back there, and who could be potential options as return men? Because like you said, Elijah, we're not going to see that at the spring game. Like we might get a chance at the Husker games to see media members return punts, but none of the actual Huskers. And I don't think any of us is going to make the cut.
Yeah, I'm not going to fumble inside the 10. I lose my mind a lot of times with the old Terrence Nunn references from time to time on this show. Third down fumbles, but no, I will not be fielding a punt. trying to walk a day after golf. Brandon Vogel with us here on the Average Joe Sports Show. And Vogues, I want to just end with some thoughts on the offensive line in general. And I know Donnie Raiola talked about water and bamboo. Do you get the sense the Nebraska fan base is impatient with the offensive line?
I don't think so. I mean, it's more like, to kind of Walter's annual question, like, when's the last time it had been, it was a clear strength or a clear like top half of the Big Ten strength. So and that was the case before Raiola arrived too. So it's not really impatience necessarily of like, oh, they should be better now. It's year 3. Apparently that's the required time for to have a vibrant field of bamboo, and I think it's just one of those things where the timing is such that it's like, okay, Raiola's had some time to work on this. Let's see some results.
No, that'd be warranted. He got pretty in depth too with just the center topic. I mean, that's close to his heart. Clearly, that was his deal, and it's a specialist spot. He's not wrong with that. And Nebraska's got some options as well. I want to go around the room here real quick before Vogues bounces out. I just wonder what that finish line, and it's never a finish line, you're always working, but I'm wondering what the finish line looks like to finally get the nod to get in and play. Like play more in rotation. And I know it shows up in practice. You make your move in practice versus being thrust in due to injury. But I just wonder, the drills, the steps, the camaraderie, the chemistry. And that's an ongoing search for the 5 right guys.
Yeah, as it pertains to center, Nebraska has a couple of options there. You need to replace a guy who came in and like owned that spot and held it down for 2 years and played at a pretty high level in Ben Scott. Kind of to Raiola's point, and he would know, like, you're looking for your quarterback of that group at that spot specifically, and that might take a while, through the offseason for that type of person to emerge.
But don't you think they have to have somebody emerge and be the guy? Go back. Who's the kid from a suburb of Fairbury? Cam Jurgens. Remember the year that he made the transition after moving from tight end to center? That was he was a little bit in that Ben Hart meme of the week, because the snaps back to quarterback were off and there was a lot of inconsistency. They stuck with him. But, you can't have alternating centers during the course of the regular season. You got to have the guy. So whoever the guy is going to have to emerge in spring. And you got to hope that you're not looking for somebody in the middle of next year, because the quarterback and center relationship is vital, as we saw that year, right? And that Pritchett and Spindler are gonna maintain their position. So you're really almost looking at who are the 2 players who are going to solidify the guard and tackle position on the other side. And one of those tackle positions, you have 2 guys who have had season-ending injuries in the last 12 months. So there's uncertainty on one side, but really you got to find somebody at center who's going to be the guy. And you already have 2 guys who are going to get 75% or more of the snaps, and probably more.
Yeah, I think, if it were me, I would want to have a pretty good idea coming out of spring football who we would expect our center to be, and go into the summer workouts with that being the case. Because, Jurgens is a really interesting example, made a big switch from tight end to center and kind of learned on the job, to the point where I think now I at least look at what he's doing in the NFL and I was like, oh, not through Cam's fault or necessarily even Nebraska's fault, maybe just timing of it, but Nebraska's not getting the best football he played at that position. And congrats to him for sticking with it and getting to that point. But you don't want to be in that situation again, and maybe deciding a little bit earlier could at least give you your best shot of avoiding that.
Vogues, tell folks how they can get locked in here with Counterread, counterread.com.
Yeah, real simple. Just head to counterread.com and you can see what we're doing. We do 2 free newsletters a week that anybody can sign up for and get, and we also do 2 paid newsletters a week where I've been going through the equation series as we talked about a little bit. So go there, get signed up. Even if you get signed up for free, you get a 7-day free trial to check out all of the stuff that we've done. So, and the hope is you like what you see and want to stick with us.
Well, you will love it. Brandon Vogel, Aaron Sorensen, Counter Read. Vogues, thank you much for jumping in, bud. Good to talk some ball, and we'll holler next week, all right?
Sounds good. Oh, one quick South Carolina recommendation since you're there. If you see she crab soup on the menu, get it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Describe. I've seen that before, and what a weird name for a food, right? She crab.
Yeah,
I'm guessing it's a female crab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a seasonal thing. It's like a bisque, but I was in Charleston once, and it's probably the best bowl of soup I've ever had.
All right.
Whoa.
We will be in Columbia tomorrow.
There you go. All right, guys. Have a good one.
Folks, thank you, bud. Yeah.
What are you there for? What are you there for? I missed that memo.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
I missed the memo.
No, we're my buddy Russ has been working 15 years to get Masters practice passes.
Oh, practice. I got you.
We
Okay.
get to go to Augusta Monday.
But it's not so you're not going to the actual Masters tournament next weekend.
Not next weekend, but it's the kind of the precursor.
Next weekend is the Masters.
Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay. I thought you were going for that. I didn't know you were going to actually play Augusta.
No, I am not.
Wow.
He's got the practice pass. He gets to go in and practice with all
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing. I hope he makes the cut.
He walks to
the
the gate and he's got his clubs and they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Mr. Schmidt, you're teeing off on
You
9."
said it was practice. What's
Mr.
going
Schmidt,
on
come
there?
with us, please, sir.
By the way, while you're there, Brett Sears, is assigned to Augusta.
Yeah. Okay.
You know that? Yeah.
Now I do.
He's assigned, and I think they have a homestand before the Masters, so you have a chance to maybe go watch Brett Sears play if you even care about Nebraska.
Wow.
While you're there.
Wow.
That's good homework there, Kraynak.
And you know what they are? They're the Augusta Green Jackets.
Okay.
Are they
You
actually?
can see why.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
checks out.
They almost died.
What do you mean?
I used to work in an organization that almost bought them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you have renamed them? Because you were in the promotion/marketing.
No, we would have kept the
department.
nickname because they got a great logo and their merchandise sale is really good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just looked up their hats because that's such a good an obscure minor league mascot hat is one of the greatest things on earth. Like if you have
100%.
some of those obscure, like the trash pandas somewhere down south as well, the green jackets. You guys see the oyster diggers? You guys see that one?
I didn't see the logo. What did it look like?
No, I think you did see the logo. It looks like a part of the female anatomy. We'll say that.
Oh my
Oh, wow.
God.
Well, what's wrong
Which
with
of
that?
those-
You guys all have kids.
Which of those sales are pretty good.
Hey.
Bud's like, not that I know of.
So I'm happy for you, Schmidt. You get to walk on the grounds. I'm now on 12 years of that email where they deny me access to be a patron. Good friend of mine, her father has been involved in Augusta National, but he's never invited me. So that shows what my status is in their relationship.
Right.
Went to Augusta National and went into the pro shop, and I was hoping I'd be able to buy, because this was in the middle of the winter.
Yeah.
Or no, this was like in March, and I was hoping I would get some master stuff. No. So you can go there and get Augusta National gear in the pro shop. The only week out of the year that they sell Masters stuff out of the pro shop on the grounds is this week.
I have been getting lots and lots of orders. Junior wants because he likes wearing his hat, his golf hats. And that's my thing is I'll buy Junior golf hats. And so he wants a Masters hat. The bunny wants a sweatshirt. My mother wants a ball marker. Can I get anything for you, gentlemen?
Yes, actually, we'll be texting you as we speak. But enjoy it, and you're not going to break the bank. It's an incredible experience from what everybody has said. So I'm happy.
$20 challenge we're doing.
Yeah. So, well, you'll have a great time, and we'll live vicariously through you.
Are you going with the pimento cheese sandwich, Schmitty, or the egg salad?
I am not touching. I don't know that I will do either.
Oh yeah, those both sound terrible.
I think you got to do that.
No. The egg. So the pimento cheese is an acquired taste, and it's very much a Southern delicacy.
I don't like
the egg salad, though. If you've never had an egg salad sandwich before, that really shocks me because that's kind of a Midwestern thing.
No, I've had them. I just hate them.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's some things you got to do that you hate.
Eggs drenched in mayo. Like, how about not?
Well, you go to the Masters. You got to do like the Masters thing, where so you can say, I had a pimento cheese sandwich at the Masters, and it broke the bank. It cost me $3.
Pimento cheese is pretty good. Right?
It's acquired, and I have not acquired it. Give me the egg.
I haven't.
Big egg salad.
What else do they sell there? I mean, can I get like just a normal
They have ham
and cheese.
They have a pulled pork sandwich. I think they got their Masters chips. Like they got some other things, but the classic egg salad and pimento cheese.
Yeah, those are like their two main ones, and then you can go with they have the handheld tomato pies.
Yeah. Those look nice.
Actually. It was interesting that they put those out on April Fool's Day. Because I'm like, this seems like an actual thing that they'd serve, and it looks pretty good actually. And it is real.
But you have to. So Schmitty, you have to do this because you have to get back to us. Because if I recall, and Elijah, you probably have memorized the menu. Egg salad and pimento cheese, I think, is $1.50.
I think so.
Something like that.
I think it's $3.50 for a beer.
Really?
Well, bring your own.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
For the beer.
Huh.
But no, I'm super excited.
I wonder how they make their money.
Yeah. No, let me ask this.
They don't have a contract with Airmark?
I know. What's the deal?
I don't know, man. Those TV ratings, I think CBS only pays like a couple of hundred.
I know.
Let me ask this in a serious note. What you have to be invited, clearly, to be a member there.
It helps to be male.
Yes. Yeah. But my question is what do you think the dues are? What's it cost you to be a member at Augusta National? Have you heard any rumors, Sharpie or
well,
Bill?
I think because you like most country clubs, you have an initiation fee, right?
Right. Yes.
So you probably have. I mean, I would think the initiation fee for a place like that is you're scratching 50.
Yeah,
maybe.
So from what I can find online, membership costs are estimated to be in the range north of $40,000. But once you have your initiation fee, it can be as much as $200,000 for your first year.
Okay.
And you're invited to apply to pay that. And I think it's more like trading places where the brothers just everything's $1. $1.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a myth. It's only $1 to join.
So. When and I think they still do this. I'm pretty sure they still do this. If you are a member of the media, like you are covering the Masters, you get into a lottery and they select a handful that get to play the course on Monday after the Masters, and they leave it the same way. Like they don't touch anything, and so you can go and play. And the media contingent is as large as it used to be. But there are quite a few people that live in Nebraska that are members of Augusta National. Mm-hmm. I think if you've been a football coach at Nebraska and you like to golf, you've golfed at Augusta National.
Well, remember did he post this? Was it on social media or Facebook? Because Bo and Doc and Manning?
Yeah. So Doc has played. So Doc has played Augusta National quite a few times.
That's awesome.
And Frost and Davison would go down there on the reg.
Ooh.
Huh.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
not surprised about that, but I mean, that's quite the golf trip.
I heard it was Golden Tee. I didn't know it was Augusta. That was the rumor. I mean,
Hey.
It's a play.
Where is the arcade unit that was in the football office?
It's kind of funny when you think
let's
about
go
it.
play Augusta.
Yeah. The family behind 1890 actually owns it.
The Golden Tee.
The Peeds own the Golden Tee, the famous Golden Tee machine.
It's like good online content. Elijah Herbel tries to break Scott Frost's records on Golden Tee. Feels like that could be some sort of YouTube video. Just throwing that out there.
What if that list of things that were proposed for the Husker games? What if one of them, along with the sorority tug of war, would have been Golden Tee competition? Would that have been the ultimate troll?
And put it up on
yeah.
And then one of
put
the
it up
things,
on the North Stadium monitor.
One of the things that was like Rule liked was one of those.
That's think about plugging in Golden Tee on the jumbotrons.
That's what I'm saying, right?
And then bringing both of them back to play.
Hey, think about winning football games. Huh.
They should do players. They should do player versus lucky fan CFB 25 up on the North Stadium. Just like 3-minute quarters. Some lucky fan gets to play against Raiola or something like that. That'd be kind of fun.
I'd smoke them. I'd smoke them.
You want some, bro?
Dude, my offensive playbook, I got a custom playbook. Let me import the custom playbook and you're done for.
I got to be honest with you. When I saw that logo for the thing they got going on later this month, I thought it was Husker Hunger Games. And since I found out it's not, I'm not quite as interested as I was. But anyway,
I got to see it. What are the features of this logo?
I just see an H in games. I thought it was Hunger Games. So I thought that's one way to get down to 105.
Oh, yeah.
Here, while Mark looks up the logo, what was your favorite of the rejected ideas? What do you think of bringing Bo Pelini back?
Well,
I want to see that. I want to see that.
Okay, so let me get back to that. Inviting the president. So we've tried to figure out, this is like, why would you do an FOIA on this? Okay, especially when it's a national organization like CBS Sports. I'm thinking that someone got tipped off that the president was mentioned. And so that's why they put in a Freedom of Information Act, because why would a national reporter at CBS Sports want this information? Nobody locally was clamoring for it to get this out there and publish it. Like the sorority tug of war was kind of interesting. The tractor pull was kind of interesting. The fact that maybe they were going to let people bring tools into the stadium so that when it was over, they could go down and cut out the turf, which leads you to believe that the plan was back in February that this was going to be the last year of the turf. Like this was going to be it for the turf, and they were just going to let people have at it when the game was over. Now back to Bo. So I don't know. I don't think Bo would come back. And I also don't sense there's a clamoring to have Bo come back to Lincoln. Like you got to remember,
it's a little too soon. It's a little too soon.
The way it ended, especially from the fan standpoint, regardless of how many games he won and what he did and didn't do on the field, I mean, that was not a great parting of ways. But the fact that Rule was behind it was kind of interesting. I honestly don't believe that Bo would come back. I think Bo has definitely moved on.
I-course Bo cage match.
Well, then he would come back and he would bring Carl.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got that's just it. On one hand, it's Bo and the personality. On the other hand, I mean, the guy won 9 or 10 ball games for you, and that seems like eons ago.
Yeah,
where you're at least competitive. But I want to see him back, and I want to see him applauded and thanked. And I know the guy has got that chip on his shoulder, Rust Belt, Youngstown. I get the personality, but the guy did like leave it all on the field for you as his coach. And I know
Mhm.
there's a lot of you that don't like Bo and can't stand him, and they did get embarrassed in a lot of big games, but he also got a lot of guys that ended up in the NFL. His offenses put up a lot of points. He transitioned from the Big 12 to the Big 10 fairly well, where they had 3 straight years of conference title games, and it's been a bleep show since he left.
You know,
He'll
one
always
thing that
go ahead, Mike.
this is maybe one thing that I wonder about with Bo is remember he came from LSU where Glenn Dorsey won the Outland, right? Yeah. And so a dominant defensive lineman, and he comes right into Nebraska and inherits Sue, right? So then you have, and he gets Sue right, because Sue was not Sue as we know it until the Pelini.
Sue was a 5th round guy and went, just based on talent, went to number 2 overall, should have been the number 1 pick.
Yeah, they got his body right. He dropped some weight and got after it. So Bo gets this vision, gets this picture of what a dominant defensive tackle looks like, right? He goes from Dorsey to Sue. And then you remember they slow played Harrison Phillips, who was at Millard West at the time, right? Because Harrison Phillips was really good defensive lineman, obviously. But they slow played him because that's the comparison they're making, right? They're comparing him to Dorsey. They're comparing him to Sue. He was not that. But lo and behold, the guy's, he's in the league now, right? And so he ends up going to Stanford. And so I always wonder how much that kind of tainted some of their recruiting and what they decided to go after and who was, quote unquote, worthy of a scholarship. Because if you look a couple years later, when Nebraska got into, I don't think it was the Big Ten championship game, but at one point when you had Cam Meredith that had to slide down to defensive tackle, right, at 270 pounds or whatever he was, and Nebraska just got destroyed. I just wonder how much that little nugget kind of impacted the rest of the team and part of his tenure, because by the time, they didn't quite have the depth on the D line as the years went along. And just flat out didn't have the bodies to play it there. And I just always wondered how much that might have screwed him up and screwed them up, on the recruiting trail, because they just have this unrealistic picture of what a D tackle should look like.
Well,
and so they missed out.
I think,
right?
It's, and I don't know, we want to sit here and talk about Bo forever, but he'll always be the one coach where you're like, man, how come they didn't win more than 9 games? And then in the same breath, you'll go, how in the hell did they get to 9 wins?
Yeah.
Here, I'm going to compare Bo's era to the current era. And this is what I always hated about Bo. And I haven't talked to Bo in a long time, but I got to know him in his first stint and his second stint at Nebraska. And, there's the Bo that was in front of the camera in the spotlight. Then there's the Bo that's away from the spotlight. And they really are 2 different people. But the Bo that is in the spotlight, that is the football coach at Nebraska, is the one we focus on. I think what Bo didn't focus on was all the time, how do you get better on the field? And how do you win football games? And the problem Bo didn't have good people around him that did not shield him from all the other crap that goes on when you're the football coach at Nebraska, so that you can focus on your job. And Bo let that impact his day to day. Now, he had one of the, in the back end of his head coaching career here, he had one of the worst athletic directors that Nebraska's ever had. Sean Eichhorst is making Steve Peterson look really good. And he had Eichhorst and Perlman. But what happened is Bo didn't have people around him that took care of all the other crap so that Bo could be a football coach. And Bo got caught up in that and he made it personal. So I'm going to shift to this year. There's a lot. When you're running a Fortune 500 company that is Nebraska football, you need to surround yourself. First of all, you have to have the tools in the toolbox to be able to run a football program like Nebraska, because this is not like other places. This is the only show. It's the biggest thing. There is so much pressure and there's so much demand that you have to have the right people around you that take care of the little stuff. Okay. So that you can focus on what you're paid to do. And that is coach football and run a football program, and also focus on winning. I said this yesterday on my show. Nebraska got away from the what should happen, and that is winning football games. And they wanted to work on the brand, and they wanted to have Husker City along with Memorial Stadium and all this other stuff. Instead of focusing on winning, they focused on, hey, let's have apartments next to South Stadium, okay, when we redo South Stadium. And I'll give credit to the current regime, now in Coach Rule's third year, is it's all about winning. All they've done since they've come back from the Pinstripe Bowl is they've talked about winning, okay? Now, there is a sense of urgency because you got to get this going in the right direction right now. But the fact that they're not talking about all this other stuff and they're just talking about winning, okay?
Or the athlete experience.
Yeah,
the athlete experience.
What do you have to do to win football games?
Yeah.
I think finally we've gotten there, and I think that's really what hamstrung Bo, because he could recruit, the players like playing for him, but he got caught up in all the other bullshit that goes on as a football coach at Nebraska, and he had nobody there to say, Bo, I'll take care of it. Instead, Bo wanted to take care of it.
No general manager, no athletic director in your corner. I agree with that. He's a football coach, and that's that. And this is a corporation. And Matt Rule understands that, and now you've got all these people around him. And I mean, look what Andrew Luck is doing out at Stanford, firing his coach, and the athletic director is not involved. So you have an entire business in this corporate community that is being run by Troy Dannon and a million other people in that athletic department. And Pelini was kind of in that transition period. And again, why are we talking about Bo Pelini? It's because, look, I don't know whether Matt Rule surprised Nebraska. I don't think he did, by saying we're not going to play a spring game. So what they did, and Gary knows this because he was in minor league baseball. I've been in minor league baseball. You get people in a room and you just start throwing ideas against the wall to try to get people to come in and buy $2 or $20 tickets and spend $7 on a beer. So they're throwing all these ideas against the wall, and somebody says, hey, it worked with Solich. Everybody was endeared to Frank Solich, and look how well that went over. What if we brought Pelini back? I'm sure that the applause was more like an Augusta. Yeah, well, maybe we'll think about that. And with Solich, it was absolutely, let's do whatever we can, and credit to Trev for helping to make that happen, and Matt Rule understanding. But I'm sure that was a tepid response when that idea came up. But the idea came up as well as the other 30 ideas or whatever it was that got freedom of information, and now it's out there as to what Nebraska was guessing. But all that was a minor league baseball meeting. What can we do for the Husker games, right? That's all.
And I'm glad Gary brought it back to the end of that Bo Pelini era, because I love the saying, and I think it really applies in this case. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. You got to learn from the previous mistakes that we've seen at Nebraska over the past 25 years.
I just want to see the SEAL Team 6 go in and extract Bo and Carl to bring them back to the state of Nebraska against their will.
Hey,
maybe Bo actually does show up. He goes to the entrance. He holds up the cat in a sweater. And then just walks back out, and they probably give him a check for $10,000 or something and say that would be it. You're not going to run a special.
Bo may walk out with the middle finger with the cat, and then just
who knows
part of it too.
It might just be a curtain call. That'd be it. They're not going to run a special Bo Pelini play. That's not going to happen. There's not going to be a meet. I'm just saying that would be kind of funny.
So let me go back to something Elijah said, because Elijah, you're right, and this is kind of. So I've heard bits and pieces actually from Trev when he hired Matt Rule, is they kind of discussed what has ailed Nebraska football. Not necessarily the X's and O's and maybe recruiting misses, but what happened? It's kind of like what ailed progress? Because Rule looked at Frost and even Bo and said, man, I hold those guys in high regard. How come they couldn't get over the hump? Why? So, you study the why. There's another thing, and this isn't a Bo versus Rule thing, because, Bo won football games. Okay. He just didn't win football games that mattered. I think, and it ties in a little bit to earlier in the week when Rule, who is always recruiting, he's always selling the brand of Nebraska. He attaches himself because his daughters hold Harper Murray in high regard and they love volleyball. He jumps into a TikTok with Harper Murray and look at all the views. Okay. the people that follow Harper Murray, that only follow Harper Murray and don't know much about Nebraska volleyball, are all of a sudden, who is this guy in her video? And they're like, oh, that's the football coach at Nebraska. So it's that was a very, very savvy move. Hey, Matt Rule is cool. The thing about Matt Rule, a little bit towards Bo, and I think even Scott, is in this state where we all have jobs because of Nebraska football. Take that, Jacob.
Wow.
Hey, he did it on my show, so he'll be back on Monday, by the way. That ought to be fun.
Can't miss
I think it
You
goes
gonna show up with an Army helmet on?
No, you know what? Hey, it's not me. I mean, hey, we're all employed because of Nebraska football.
I know
Okay,
it.
there's spring football and there's fall football. It goes a long way in this state if you get the impression that the football coach likes being here. I think that is subtly a big thing. And, you know, we all diagnose, hey, can he coach football or not? But, man, you got a head start if you give the impression, and it's authentic, that you enjoy being here and you like being the football coach at Nebraska, because it can wear your ass down. You know?
And there were a lot of rumors when Bo was here about him looking for the next job, applying elsewhere, trying to get out.
Even though Scott was one of us, I don't know that there was always that Scott enjoyed being the football coach at Nebraska, and it came across. I think Rule, and there's been some ups and downs, but Rule enjoys being the football coach at Nebraska. Now, we'll ask this question next year if they go 7-5 again, but he enjoys being a football coach at Nebraska. So we're looking at him going, we like rooting for the program, following the program, supporting the program. And you got a football coach that likes being the football coach at Nebraska? Hell yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah. What do you do with that fishbowl, right? And you embrace it, or you can't run from it. And that's a lot of that has to do with as much of what your success looks like on the field.
Yeah.
How good or terrible is the fishbowl based on your Saturday afternoons? But you got a guy in Rule, Kraynak, that has said, bring it in, bring it on, and just gets it. I mean, his communication abilities, just a game changer. Does that translate to, some one-score wins here this fall?
Yeah, and I think it's maybe a little too early on Troy Dannon, but so far, if you look at his profile compared to his predecessors, right? Steve Peterson, we all know, whatever, right? Tom Osborne comes in to kind of right the ship, steady everything, has that credibility. Ike Horst comes in, makes everything about the athlete experience, everything except the winning, of course. And then that was directly after Ike Horst was Moose, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm not missing anybody in between, am I? Yep. So it's Moose, and he's a little old school, maybe isn't buttoned up kind of as much. Good salesman, good kind of coach's first guy, but had a few shortcomings there too. And then you have Dannon, that's just a little bit more of, he just seems pretty, and Trev, of course, Trev, and then he bounces. Dannon seems well-rounded, right? Like if you look at all the folks that came before him, he seems like he has that nice, he's not too much of a penny pincher, right? He'll spend the money, it appears. He has the experience. He's been around it. He's been around major college athletics. Remember, Trev did not have that, right? Trev came from a smaller athletic program to a behemoth. He just seems like he might be, if you go back through it all, he has kind of the right qualifications and seemingly the right kind of innovative mindset during a time that is really volatile, right? It's tough right now trying to you're figuring out the rules as you go. It's all changed. And so I wonder how much that's going to impact and help Nebraska too. But so far, I wouldn't say that there's some things about Dannon where you're like, what the hell is this guy doing? It just seems like he's making good moves and setting up a good environment for his football team to succeed.
Which included giving Mark Manning the Husker of the Month championship belt this week. So thanks for watching. And
I'll say, I said this a while ago. I'll say it again. I think Trev was what Nebraska needed at the time.
He was Doge.
Yeah,
Right?
good comparison. He was what Nebraska need. He goes and cleans up an athletic department that had really been broken dating back to the I-Course days. Came in and he was nobody's friend. And hey, Nebraska didn't need a friend at the top at that point in time. They needed somebody to get shit in order. And now Troy Danon steps in. I think he's the right man for the job for what Nebraska is right now. Things have been cleaned up, and now you need a guy at the top that is not the dictator type boss. That might be a little harsh towards Trev, but I think you guys get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll give you a quick example. A guy that's worked for 7 athletic directors at the University of Nebraska, John Cook, raves about Troy Danon. And it's not just the transition of Louisville and Nebraska finding out that they're going to have new coaches. It's how he handled everything in the first year. You know, I think that says a lot to me. But, you know, now the focus is on a whole new world of college athletics, but the focus is on winning, guys. I mean, Nebraska, especially on the men's side with football and men's basketball and throw baseball in there, winning matters, you know, and that's the transition in the next to finish up baseball and then move into 25-26. Winning matters. And do you have the right ingredients to win while you work on all the other stuff about raising money and buying players and all that kind of stuff?
I mean, it's all hand in hand. It all stems from what the hell you do on Saturday and what do you do on Saturday in a big moment. You get people excited. Can they stay excited? Can you give till it hurts? And can it be a cycle where it just starts stacking again?
Yeah.
And that's the question. You just wonder if it can get back to it. You can win at a level, and then fine, you have your breakthrough season. Can you do it again? Can you be consistent?
And it all starts today
with Crown.
That's what I was going to say.
The Final Four of the Crown.
That's right.
On the first Saturday in April. Marching toward a Diamond Head Classic championship and a Crown championship in the same year. Can you imagine what Troy Danon and it's just endless.
Do they have spots for this in the old trophy room?
Yeah.
I mean, do you bring home the old Crown title?
Put space on that brand new floor at PBA. It's coming next year. Defending Crown tournament champions.
Do you hang the banner?
They got to get there
PBA.
first. Got to get there first.
Yeah, you hang the banner, but is the banner the same size as the NIT?
There's enough NIT banners floating around that you could blanket Memorial Stadium.
Well, I once got scolded by a basketball coach at Nebraska because I was like, man, the Devaney Center, why don't you rename it the Apple Orchard with all the NIT banners up there? He didn't like that. He said, we won a championship with a really good team. And I said, yeah, that team fell apart at the end of the year. They should have been in the NCAA tournament.
That team should have been a Sweet 16 team.
Well, there's a lot of what ifs that surround Nebraska athletics. But you know what? I'm glad that we've all handled the Crown appropriately. We're all having fun with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, dollar bills, y'all.
No, I know.
That's what this is. And it's, it's enjoyable. And hey, you could say, well, what if? Nah, I mean, let's go. Hey, man, Cale Jacobson, will he enter the portal now because his stock has risen?
No, that's where I want to go. Not in any serious consideration of portal and negotiation with Cale, but guys, that's been something that I've enjoyed this week. I've enjoyed watching him play. I know what he did at Ashland Greenwood. What's your practical application for him next year? Is it anything beyond 6 or 8 points, 5 rebounds, spot duty? Or has he shown you enough here in a couple of games against power competition, not NCAA competition, that this is more than just a nice story? And he's a good ball player, smart kid, and I think you can win with him. I mean,
well, look how
an overreaction on my end.
I don't know. I mean, you look how Sam developed, right? Sam developed from a pretty much a spot duty type guy, energy off the bench, defensive guy, to somebody who you can bona fide leave in a Division I basketball game for 25 minutes, right? He can give you quite a few. So you could say that about the development side of things. I don't think that's been a big problem with Hoiberg. In fact, it's been actually pretty good, especially recently. Because look at how Williams has developed. Look at how Gary's developed. Like right? Everybody has. I mean, the top end guys have progressively gotten better, and so have the lower end guys. Right? Hoiberg's fashioned himself into a bona fide player, and maybe Jacobson is on the upswing of that now. Right, to where this is his starting point coming into next year. Athletically, size-wise, he doesn't leave a whole lot wanting there. He's in really good shape. He's got good size, good strength, decent skill. So I mean, he could be a dude. I don't think he's going to be much more than what you said, though. Right?
I can't imagine that they're going into or whatever the work they're able to do right now in the transfer portal knowing they're going to need 9 new players next year, just like they did this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of doubles, triples, and you got to hit a couple of home runs. I don't think based on what is happening in the Crown that they're going to go, you know what? We only need 8. Right. I think they've got a solid player off the bench who's going to play hard when he gets his opportunity. And maybe in a year, you get more production, but I think it's going to be a progression for him. I think what he's doing is taking advantage of the opportunity. Fred's rolling the dice out in Vegas, and so far it's worked, And I like that we can have fun with it, and I think Nebraska's taking it seriously. And I think they've done themselves, a lot of good by the way they performed. There have been some tough times this season, but hey, go out and if they don't win today, play some defense. You got a pretty good chance to beat Boise State. If they win the whole thing, people are going to be happy. If they lose this, we've got a couple of good chapters to close out this book on the 25 season. But I think in terms of Cale, nice story, nice player. It's proven that he can play at this level, but any more than 10 in the 10 minutes in a Big Ten regular season game, I think that's probably asking maybe a little bit too much.
I don't know if it's culture or if it's just NIL obligations, but I think it's also a good sign that Nebraska plays in a lower level bowl game. And for the most part, the big dogs played, right? Ty Robinson played in that game, and you're seeing a similar thing here at the Crown. Because a lot of other teams, Georgetown was one of them. All their top guys sat out, right? They didn't even play in the game. So at least they're getting that. Right, even though it's not the top end, even though it's not the final goal, not necessarily championship level stuff, the dudes could easily bow out, and they're not. Right? They're jumping in and they're playing.
I mean, they're playing because of this. Okay,
they
got 50K,
well, right,
and it's fine, and you kind of know that.
Yeah,
because I mean, honestly, if there was not money on the line, would Nebraska have opted out of the Crown like other teams did, even though we were told you can't?
Yeah.
So, but at least they haven't gone out there and half-assed it. And Fred has his team ready. They've beaten 2 teams that they're better than. Today is a challenge, but I'm going to say this selfishly: we get another day to watch Bryce Williams play.
Yes,
and in 2 years, what he's been able to do, I would not. Bryce Williams, number 3, is not going to be retired. Number 3 does not break into the top 5, but number 3 in his brief time at Nebraska is in the discussion to be that hockey line change, second 5 off the bench to replace the top 5, in my opinion. Yeah. So I enjoy watching Bryce Williams play, and I hope he puts up another 30-burger. And this game is no defense, and it's like 100-98 because that's what it could be. Boise State's really good. Boy, you don't look at Nebraska and go, man, should they have been in the NCAA tournament? You look at Boise State and you're like, yeah, one more win, they would have been maybe a 9 or 10 seed in the tournament. Yeah.
So they are taking it seriously.
Yeah, it's a challenge today.
It's a big deal for Boise State to be there.
Hey, the Crown is great because the Crown's got this gigantic midcourt logo, which is I don't know. This is a new thing in college basketball. The NIT has this giant midcourt logo. I'm watching the women's Final Four last night. They got this giant midcourt logo. We're going to watch the men's Final Four today. But the other thing about this sums up the Crown perfectly is a guy that grew up in Benedict, Nebraska, named Rob, is sitting next to Ed Cooley on the bench in a Nebraska shirt in the first half Wednesday night. And then the people from the Crown, not Georgetown, by the way, the people from the Crown come and say, hey, we've got seats next to the team you're rooting for. And so he goes and sits next to the Nebraska bench in the second half. That is the crown in a nutshell. And also the fact that Fox is piping in squeaker noise. The sneaker noise. Oh, no. They are piping in sneaker noise. Cale Jacobson was holding the basketball and on an out of bounds play and nobody was moving and you could hear sneakers in the background.
Oh, geez.
I mean, they're mimicking CBS at the Masters.
With the Masters birds. Yeah.
Oh, that's
my
funny.
goodness.
Well, on that note, fellas, we'll be back.
What is the line for today? Is it still 1.5?
I think it's up to 2.5 for Boise State.
Okay. That's not Bryce,
No.
put up
12:30.
go for a 50 burger today. Break the
12:30
single
tip
season
off.
scoring record. He's got to get 30 to tie James Palmer Jr.
31 to break it, yeah.
Damn. They better make sure he gets that record today.
That'd be good.
How's he project, you think, next level?
I think he'll be in Vegas on an NBA roster in the summer league.
Yeah.
And have a chance to make money somewhere playing hoops.
Strikes me as a two-way kind of guy that just with his maturity, with how cool he is playing basketball, and considering he comes from an NBA system in college with Fred Hoiberg, strikes me as like a pretty immediate two-way guy where he's going to spend most of his time in the G League and, hey, maybe he'll get up for a couple of games due to injuries in the NBA next year. It's kind of how he strikes me.
Hey, you guys want to have a little Bryce moment. Remember how the season started when Bryce showed up for the first game and didn't have a beard? If you find that picture on the internet, you're going to be like, whoa, who is that guy?
And it looks like he dropped probably 20 pounds too. Like he was a lot different shape.
He is a good dude. He is going to be sorely missed next year. I don't think there's really anybody in the portal that Nebraska has a chance at that does the things that he's been able to do with this roster.
I'm bullish on Rink though.
Getting Sanford was nice yesterday for Nebraska basketball. You have Rink. You got some work to do though. As you guys,
you'll have closer to. I think. Don't you guys think you'll have closer to a roster of 2 years ago where you have more shooters compared to this year where it was just a hodgepodge of guys that didn't fit together? But you got to find a point guard.
But you remember preseason, the talk was that you did have shooters. But it didn't materialize, right? It didn't because if you just look at kind of previous production on some of the dudes that they had, it seemed like you should have been a little bit better off from the 3-point line. And I think Essegian, you were hoping for a little more consistency, right? Because he can light it up, but he's pretty feast or famine. I expected them to shoot it a lot better than they did. And then once the year went along, you kind of realize maybe they don't have the perimeter. But you bring Rink back, he'll be able to do that. Price will be able to do that. Essegian. So you'll have a few options. Rink's changed his body a lot too. When you see him on the sidelines, he's dropped quite a bit of weight, much more lean. And it seems like he probably could have come back this year, but they're just holding him.
We are, at least I am getting ready to say fare thee well. I will be back with the Sunday edition, the Sunday Live Average Joes tomorrow at 10:30 Central. I will do a hit from a golf cart, that kind of hit, versus the retaining wall kind of hit. We'll have SEC Commissioner Garth Glessman, Mr. Glissman, joining us as it's Final Four weekend, and we'll get his take on things with one of his SEC squads in the championship game. But guys, this has been fun.
Not for Captain. Captain has not enjoyed today's show. He does not like today's show.
Sorry, Captain. We tried.
It should have been a production meeting. This is what we talked about in our production meeting this morning. So
let's piss Captain off.
Hey.
And I'm going to go find some allergy medicine. And this hotel room is still at 80 degrees.
What is
Man,
that?
that is wonderful.
Gary's looking up plane tickets right now.
Gary said, "Get me back to God's country."
Got the balcony or the kind of terrace door open, and it's still just stifling in here. We all just passed out. I mean, not in that way. We were in bed by 10. We're old men, for Christ's sake. I mean, it's
hashtag fail.
That's pretty good. But,
another recommendation for the region you're in, by the way, Schmidt, is shrimp and grits. Just make sure you do
that's
that.
what Russ had last night, and I will get that next time, because he like threw a little bit on the side plate, and I was like, oh my God, that's heaven. That was great.
And then you're in that Carolina versus Georgia kind of barbecue sauce, crossover there, right? Where you get the tanginess of the Carolina, where it's real vinegar base. You got the more mustard base for the Georgia. So like I'm
a dry rub. If I'm going to do barbecue, I'm more of a dry rub rib dude.
Yeah, but have you done the Carolina style though?
Yeah, I mean, it's super vinegary. It's fine. The sauce is not. The pork's probably pretty well done here though, and so that might be. I need to loosen up the old back, play 18 here in a little bit, and go get our friend from.
And don't forget to get your card table to set up at Augusta so you can do a remote from there. Yeah. They'll love that.
Yeah,
and no carts, right? So your foot should be all right, right?
Oh,
no danger there.
My ankle's throbbing right now. So Sharpie and Bill, appreciate you. Kraynak, appreciate you. Elijah, and many of you in the stream. Like and subscribe to the Average Joe Sports Show on YouTube, Twitter, AJ Sports Radio. Catch Gary, of course, weekday mornings with his show on the Zone. And that is a 6 to 10 adventure, which is good. Gary and Matt, we're back tomorrow at 10:30. And again, find us here with the Average Joe Sports Show. Enjoy your Saturday. Take care, and thanks for tuning in.